Saturday, the 2nd of October, the day of Chris and Tracy's wedding. Found number 1, Waggoners Walk.
Margot Boyd as Miss Whiting in Miss Whiting's Visitors by Anton Gill.
Good heavens, is that the time? I must be going.
Surely not.
Stay and have another cup of coffee. If I drink any more coffee, I'll turn into a jug. Oh, no, Vera, forgive me. Mike'll be wondering what's become of me.
Well, if you're sure, it does seem a pity.
Oh, come on, Claire. Stay a little longer. I'm going to.
You see, Liz doesn't mind staying. She won't desert me.
Oh, no one's deserting you, Vera.
I should hope not. I'd rather like to tell you about a beau I once had called Harry. Who can that be?
Hello, Miss Whiting.
Good afternoon. What can I do for you, Mrs. Phillips?
Well, I was wondering if you'd seen my husband.
No, not today.
I wish he'd put a few shows up at home sometimes, instead of coming round here all the time, doing you favours.
To the best of my knowledge, he has been round here precisely 3 times in the last month to repaint my kitchen cupboards, which he offered to do. I didn't ask him. I'm sorry to have to hurry you, but I have company.
If you do see Harry, tell him I've got a couple of cupboards at home, could do with a lick of paint and all.
Insufferable woman.
So I says, well, if that's what you think, you've got a dirtier mind than I'd have given you credit for. That's saying something, and you should have seen the look on her face. Right, that's done. What would you like me to do now, then?
Well, don't forget the fireplace this time.
Right. What was I saying? Oh, her husband. Right. Poor little bleeder.
Oh,
he was
dear.
standing there, and he went all mauve. He always does, you know, when she shows him up in public.
Oh.
I wouldn't be surprised if he stuck a knife in her one of these days. You want me to dust these, do you?
Yes, but be careful, please.
Yeah. I read about that, you know, in the People. You know, an husband stabbing his wife like that. However, she turned around to look at the rest of us, right, and she caught Vi's eye. Well, I mean, Vi started laughing, didn't she? The rest of them joined in. So what could she do? Just gets up off her arse, gives us a look like Dracula's mother-in-law, and off she goes.
She sounds an appalling person, Mrs. Walker.
Right, that's all I've got time for today. I'll do upstairs next time, right? And I changed the towels in the bathroom. I mean, those beginning to look a bit, you know, mucky. Know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Well, sorry, I dare say you was about to do it yourself, weren't you, anyway?
No, I wasn't.
Right, that's done. I'll just park the Uber and get me coat. Want me to get you a cup of coffee before I go?
No, thank you. I'm expecting friends. I'll make coffee myself when they arrive.
Oh, expecting friends, eh?
Yes?
Shall I get out the best china?
That won't be necessary.
Don't trust me with it, do you, dear?
No.
Don't look so upset. I'm not offended. If I was to get offended each time one of me ladies took the amp with me, I'd end up looking like a gin bottle. Here, guess what I'm going to do now? Mrs. Rippon, Parkinson's Mansions. You know who I mean.
No, I don't.
Well, she's enough to drive you to drink, she is. So I better not be late, because she'll have to go on at you. Right, better be off then. Ta-ra.
Oh, well, thank goodness she's gone.
Is that you, Claire, dear?
Yes, Vera, I'm here.
I didn't hear you come in.
I've been here all the time. I was only waiting for that dreadful woman to finish vacuuming and leave us in peace.
Amen to that. Is Liz coming over, do you know?
I think so. She certainly hasn't phoned me to break the date.
Nor me. But you know what these journalists are like.
Yes, Liz Tyson, ace reporter.
On call day and night. I don't see how Peter copes.
Oh, it's not that bad, Vera. Liz only edits the women's page, don't forget. It's not often she goes out on stories herself these days.
No, of course. I was forgetting. Would you like some coffee now, or shall we wait?
Oh, now, I think. And may I have one of these biscuits? They look scrumptious.
I made them myself. They were left over from the batch I bought to the bring and buy.
I remember. You made so many you couldn't fit them all into the tin.
And I only had the one.
This is beautiful china, Vera. Have I seen it before?
It's gold Rosenthal. My parents gave it to me for my 21st. Quite an expense, even in those days, but I always use it on special occasions. And do you know, I've never broken a piece yet.
Well done, you. But what's so special about this occasion?
Hello, you two.
Liz, hi.
Started without me, I see.
Only just. And you are a little late.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Vera. Got held up at the paper. Had to sort out a bit of a wingding that was developing between Maurice Gill and Debbie Frank.
Poor you.
I'd rather be a housewife any day.
Me too.
It's hard work, but at least you keep out of trouble most of the time.
Come on, Claire. You had your share of troubles when you were a model.
Maybe I did. But that's not what we're here to talk about now.
Oh?
It's a special occasion.
Why?
We're drinking our coffee from Vera's best special occasion china. It is lovely, isn't it?
Okay, Vera. You'd better spill the beans.
It's about George.
Oh.
Yes. Well, I suppose it's no secret to you two. Well, you know how I feel about George.
Yes. And he feels the same way about you too, Vera. If only he wasn't so shy, he might bring himself to do something about it.
It hurts me to think of him cooped up in that poky little flat with that dreadful Arthur Tyson. Oh, sorry, Liz.
That's all right, Vera. The fact that Arthur's my father-in-law does not necessarily make him my best friend.
I'm your best friend.
Yes.
And mine.
We both love you, Vera.
Good. But does George Underdown? I think he does. You say you think he does. But how do we find out for sure?
What's your plan?
I've decided to give a small sherry party for his birthday.
Great idea.
Who will you invite?
Well, you two, of course. And Mike, if he's not too busy on the paper, Claire.
You know my husband, Vera. Never says no to the chance of a noggin.
I better show some loyalty to my boss and say that Mike Nash is the most sober editor I've ever worked for.
Here, here.
Who else?
Well, Peter, of course.
Glad you're not leaving him out. Though who we get to babysit, heaven knows.
And I suppose I'll have to ask Arthur Tyson, too.
There's no easy way round that I can see. But we'll try to keep him in the background, to leave the field clear for you and George.
When's the party to be, Vera?
Tomorrow night. I've already got the sherry. I bought a whole case. You should have seen the look on Donald Fitzroy's face when I ordered it. His eyes stood out on stalks.
I'll bet.
And I got some twiglets and peanuts, and I thought I might make some cheese straws.
Look, I was only giving her a bit of a hand.
Oh, yes. Harry Phillips, Mr. Good Neighbour, 1983. I wonder why some of those famous friends of hers can't paint her cupboards for her.
Giving an old lady a good turn now and again, well, I mean, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt to know when you're being taken advantage of, either.
She isn't taking advantage of anyone.
She saw me off good and proper this afternoon.
What?
When I was over there looking for you. She had some more of her friends round. But would she ask me in for a cup of tea? Not on your life. And that's the kind of thanks you get for trying to be a good neighbour.
Just sit down a minute.
You're not going to get round me like that.
There's something I want to tell you.
About Miss Whiting?
Yes?
Well, it can wait. I've had that old cow up to here for one day.
It's about her friends.
Been granted an audience with them, have you?
Okay, forget it.
Oh, right. I'll listen. I'll sit down and I'll fold my arms and I'll listen. But I'll tell you one thing, Harry. It'd better be worth it.
Vera, I found the prawn crackers, but I can't find the crisps anywhere.
Have you looked in the left-hand larder cupboard?
Oh, no, sorry. Shall I go and get them now?
No, leave it for a moment. Tell me how you think things are looking in here.
Oh, lovely. That gorgeous roaring fire.
Liz was wondering if I'd put the flowers out too early.
Surely not. I mean, they'll hardly have withered by this evening, will they?
Did I hear someone taking my name in vain?
Not at all. Vera was just wondering about the flowers.
Oh, I think they'll be all right now, Vera. After all, it's 2:30. Only 4.5 hours to blast off.
Well, Mike said he'd come over and lend a hand. Once they've put the paper to bed, there's not much more for him to do. So he'll be at a loose end until this evening.
Well, the more the merrier.
Bar one, I'm afraid. Father-in-law said he'd be over too.
Oh, no.
Sorry, but I could hardly say him nay. He rambled on about wanting to make sure the sherry was up to scratch.
Typical.
I was rather hoping your charlady would be here when he arrived, Vera. She'd soon put him to flight.
Oh, Liz, the idea.
Oh, I found the crisps, but I can't for the life of me locate the prawn crackers.
But Claire's got them.
I see. Beat me to it.
Hello, hello, hello.
Mike, darling, you got here quickly.
Yes, I managed to get away early. Not too much happening on the local news front this week. And I was able to leave everything in the capable hands of my worthy deputy editor, Maurice Gill.
Excellent.
Hello, Vera.
Mike.
Well now, are we all set?
We're just putting out the flowers now. I think we'll leave the nibbles and things until later. They'll get stale if we unwrap them now.
Lovely music. Are we having that tonight?
But it's just a trial run. George loves it. Now, I wonder about the sherry.
Where is it?
In the kitchen.
Ah.
I bought a whole case of Amontillado. You should have seen Donald Fitzroy's face.
Well, I expect he knew you weren't going to drink it all yourself. Shall I bring it in?
Oh, if you would.
My dear Miss Whiting. Good afternoon.
Oh, Mr. Tyson.
Hello, Liz.
Hello, Father.
I've come to lend a hand.
And test the sherry.
I beg your pardon, Liz.
Oh, nothing.
I do dislike it when people talk in undertones. It's most disquieting and frequently impolite.
Sorry.
People might mishear.
Of course.
And jump to the wrong conclusions.
Well, here we are then. One case of the finest Amontillado. Oh, hello, Arthur. I didn't hear you bowl up.
I did not bowl up, my dear Michael. I arrived a moment ago.
Would you like to put it down here, Mike?
Oh, thanks, Vera. Not that I can't cope with carrying it, but a case of sherry's enough of a weight for a man of my age.
Oh, get on with you. You're only 50.
Alas, too old for a young thing like you.
Oh, get away, you charmer. I could give you 6 years.
Nonsense. Well, shall we unpack it now?
Well,
It might be wise, dear lady, not to delay. Good sherry needs to feel the air a little, just like a fine wine.
What nonsense.
Liz, you may be my daughter-in-law, but sometimes you really do go beyond the pale.
and talking of pale, maybe you'd like to try this, just to make sure it's all right.
Dear lady, most kind. Yes, indeed. A very fine colour.
Mike. Who is it now?
Hello, Miss Whiting.
Mr. Jones? I wasn't expecting you.
No, it's what you might call an unscheduled stop. May I come in for a moment?
Well, yes. I'm afraid you'll find it a little...
My. What's this? Having a party?
A few friends. A small birthday celebration.
Anyone I know?
I shouldn't think so. Particular friends.
Whose birthday is it?
George Underdown's.
I see.
And I've got Mike and Claire coming, and Liz Tyson. Oh, and Arthur. Couldn't keep him away, really, though. Poor old chap, I don't think he realises he's rubbing people up the wrong way half the time. Anyway, they've all been over and helping.
I see. Well, you don't seem to have much need of me today.
They're not friends I often see. It's just for George's birthday. That's special.
And they've been helping you here today?
Yes.
When did they leave?
Just before you arrived.
It's a bit chilly in here, you know. Aren't you cold?
No.
You ought to have a bit of heating on, you know. Shall I switch it on for you?
No, thank you. Why are you here? You normally come on Tuesdays.
No special reason. I was just passing. Oh, may I have a peanut?
I'd rather you didn't. I don't want to open the packet yet. It's George's birthday, and Arthur's so particular.
Of course. Well, if there's nothing I can do, I'd get some heat on all the same. I'll see myself out, shall I?
If you would.
Would you like me to close the door for you?
What a singularly disagreeable young man. In my day, no one connected with government service, however remotely, would have dreamt of dressing like that. And he doesn't even have the common courtesy to wear a tie.
It's just I've been so busy, I've hardly had time to pay her more than a flying visit. She's always seemed, okay. One of our low priorities. If you could see my case file now...
I can well imagine it.
I just thought you might be able to fill me in a few...
Fill you in? Look, I'm only her doctor. I attend to her aches and pains and send her off happy. She comes here all that often. And like some I could name...
Dr. Black.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
She said she was going to throw a party.
I'm glad to hear it.
Doesn't that strike you as odd?
What on earth are you talking about?
An old lady of 75? She never goes out normally. Look, when I was there this afternoon, I don't know quite how to describe it. She'd got everything laid out for a party, but I just didn't feel it was true. Dr. Black, how long has Miss Whiting been a patient of yours?
Almost 30 years, I suppose.
And has she ever in all that time...
Don't start asking me questions about her medical
She
history,
mentioned one
young
or
man.
two names to me, the names of guests she was going to invite. I wondered if they might mean anything to you.
Well, who were they?
A man called George Underdown,
Never heard of him.
Liz Tyson, a couple called Mike and Claire.
No. Don't know any of them, sorry.
I see. Well, if any of those names do ring a bell later...
I hardly think they'll like it.
No,
I'm sorry not to have been more help.
not at all. Thank you for your time. I know how busy you are.
Nash.
What?
Nash. Their surname wasn't Nash, was it?
Whose?
The couple you mentioned. Mike.
Claire.
Mike and Claire Nash. I have heard of them somewhere.
Where? Do they live locally?
Oh. I don't think so. I'll ask my wife if it means anything to her.
My dearest George, I know this invitation comes at very short notice, but I dared not send it earlier, or it would not have been much of a surprise. I'm giving a small sherry party in honor of your birthday, and as a small token of my thanks to you for coming over so often to do odd jobs for me. It would be unladylike of me to make any assumptions, dear George, but I fancy that your visits have been more frequent of late than has been strictly necessary. Be reassured, my poor shy boy, my feelings for you are as strong as the wild flowers which grow on the rocks. Oh, no, no. Oh, that's too forward, much too forward. Oh, dear, now I'll have to copy it out all over again. Or shall I? No. I know how he feels about me. Why shouldn't I tell him? I feel the same way. Only a few close friends are coming, my dear one, and perhaps if you would care to stay after they have gone, I could cook a birthday dinner for you. Nothing special. I only have my pension. But a candlelit supper for two with wine and soft music. So, I shall expect you at 7. I know you will come. Arthur told Liz you had no plans for your birthday, and Liz told me.
Is that you, Harry?
Anybody else got a key to the front door? Well, what's for supper, love?
I got some gammon steaks. Thought it would make a change. You know, with pineapple rings.
Oh, smashing. Hey, this letter for me?
Well, unless there's someone else lives here called H. Phillips, Esquire.
All right, all right. Well, when did it come?
I found it on the mat when I got back from shopping. What is it? Well?
Yeah, I don't know. Looks like it's been delivered to me by mistake.
What's it say?
I can't make much of it. It's to some bloke or other called George. It's a sort of invitation, I think.
Well, let's have a look.
Odd, isn't it? I mean, well, someone's put the wrong letter in the wrong envelope. Anyway, I don't know any of these people. They're not from round here.
It isn't signed.
No.
It's more of a love letter than anything, really, when you look at it.
Oh, sure.
Well, whoever this George is, he does odd jobs for her.
Yeah?
It's from her, isn't it?
No.
You and your Good Samaritan act.
Well, one thing's for sure. If this letter's from her, which I doubt.
Well, of course.
It's your
Must
imagination getting the better of you again. Anyway, look, I'm not having that old woman hounded by you or anyone else. Is that understood? I mean, even if you're right, she's just harmless. You go jabbering away to that leather-jacketed scruff who calls himself a social worker about her.
Well?
I just don't want to see her messed about with. All right, maybe she is a bit daft. She's not doing anyone any harm.
She thinks she's in love with you. And that's enough. I think it's disgusting. An old woman like her, she should be in a home.
Just because I did 1 or 2 jobs for her around the house, she's older than my own mother.
Where are you going?
Go down the pub.
Oh, I see. And what am I supposed to do?
Why don't you go off and do some more spying on that poor old bird down the road, eh?
And why don't you go and find yourself another bloody job?
Set your mind at rest, dear lady.
But what if he isn't coming? What if he doesn't come at all?
Oh, he'll be here all right. Never fear. It's only past now.
Probably got delayed at the bank.
The duties of an under-manager are many and onerous.
I must say, I'd be sorry to be missing all of this if it were a party in my honour. And what a spread you've laid on.
Oh, most delicious. Mm.
And I think he even finds the sherry up to scratch.
He must do, from the amount he's drunk already.
Is that Dickon Firth over there dancing with Debbie Franks?
Yes, Claire.
I'm a little surprised you asked her.
Oh, why?
I don't know. Just a little unexpected to see her here.
Oh, come one, come all. If only George would turn up.
Don't worry, Vera. He said he'd be here, and he'll be here. He's a man of his word, is George.
I'm sure he is.
Want to take a turn about the floor with me, Vera?
No, thank you, Mike. You take Claire.
Oh. Okay, then. If you're sure. Coming, darling?
Righto then.
Oh, it's him. It must be him. George. George. At last you've come.
Were you expecting me, Miss Whiting?
George?
Harry Phillips, love, from number 28.
What are you?
Oh, I was just passing on the way to the pub. I had a bit of a set to with the missus.
The missus?
My wife, yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, I was just passing, and I heard music, and I thought I'd look in and see if you was all right.
Yes. How kind. Yes, I'm fine.
Well, I'll be off then. Back to finish those cupboards Friday, eh? Good night.
Good night. Oh,
Sorry I'm late, dear.
What kept you?
Oh, our Mr. Lattimore couldn't balance out. £3.51 over for some reason.
Poor you. On your birthday, too, of all days.
These things happen.
The others have gone.
It doesn't matter. What I'm really looking forward to is our candlelight supper.
Then you're staying?
I most certainly am.
Oh. Arthur was looking a bit disapproving earlier.
Oh, that's his fuddled look. It always comes over him after his 5th bumper of sherry.
But what if he does disapprove? You share a flat with him after all. And...
What he says or thinks has no effect on me. After all, I don't need nursemaiding at my age.
Well, some people think differently. Oh, I don't mean you. No, I mean me. But I can take care of myself. But what if Arthur does disapprove, George? What if they all do?
It's all right, Pet. We have nothing to worry about in the world.
Oh, you're back then?
Yeah.
Well, come in if you're coming. You've been to the pub then?
No.
I'm sorry, Harry.
What for?
Well, I didn't want to shout at you about the job.
Oh, that. Forget it. Oh, something will turn up.
Where have you been then?
Oh, nowhere. Just for a walk down Becontree Lane, up past the shops, you know.
That takes you past Miss Whiting's.
No, don't start that again.
I'm not.
I'm sure she's perfectly harmless. I mean, there's lots of old people with odd ways. It's us ought to look after them, really.
You've been helping her all you can.
Maybe there comes a time when you have to call in the experts. Oh, I don't know.
Well, what's brought this on?
Well, I was walking past her house. Her curtains weren't drawn. The lights in her front room were on. That was unusual. She almost never uses that room. And there was this music, all those old records. Playing them quite loud she was. And anyway, I looked in the window and...
Yes?
Well, it was all laid out on the table. Bottles of wine or something, all in rows.
Well?
She was sitting there in the middle of the room. I think she must have been pickled. She got up and waltzed around, wearing a kind of black velvet dress she was, with pearls.
So, who was at this famous party?
Hmm?
Who was there?
No one. No one was there at all.
All right, dear?
That was a lovely meal, Vera. Perfect.
I am glad.
I've always liked a good steak and kidney pie. And wouldn't Arthur have envied us the wine?
Yes. Arthur?
Now, don't you start fretting about him again. I told you, I'm my own boss. Of course I am.
What you do will affect him a lot.
You mean if I leave the flat?
Well, it's just that he scares me a bit, George, and I don't want the others to disapprove. And what about your wife? She's going to have something to say, isn't she? Have you told her about us yet?
Vera, dearest heart, you're confusing me with someone else. I haven't got a wife.
Yes. Oh, no, I suppose
I'm a bachelor. Always have been. Before I met you, I thought I always would be.
But there are people out there. They'll come between us, unless we keep it a secret.
It'll be pretty difficult to keep it secret after tonight, and after I stayed here alone with you like this. And now, a toast. To us. There.
We won't be separated, will we?
Trust me.
Oh, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones.
Eh? Oh, hello, Mrs. Phillips.
Could you spare a minute? Sorry to bring you into the kitchen.
Not to worry. Usually the warmest place in this weather.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh, lovely. Thank you. So, what's wrong, Mrs. Phillips?
It's about Miss Whiting. It all started a couple of months ago, I suppose. Mind you, Harry, my husband, had been doing odd jobs for her off and on for years before that. Well, you know, the sort of thing. Cementing in a rotten windowsill, or a lick of paint here or there.
Yes.
Well, anyway, since he got made redundant, he's had time on his hands and he's been doing a bit more for her. Painting cupboards and that. Oh, dear. I shouldn't really be talking to you like this. He didn't want me to.
Go on.
Well, I don't know what it is. She's got my husband mixed up with someone else, and she thinks she's in love with him. Harry won't let me do anything about it, but I think something ought to be done.
Steve Jones?
Dr. Black here.
Oh, hello, Dr. Black.
It's about Miss Whiting. You remember you gave me some names, people who were supposed to be at that party she gave?
Yes.
Well, I asked my wife about this Mike and Claire Nash.
And?
Well, apparently they were characters in a radio soap opera. They went off the air 3 years ago.
My darling George, I've gone to bed early. I've locked myself in. It was the only thing I could do to be rid of them. I know they suspect. Mike and Claire phoned this morning, and I saw Mrs. Phillips call Steve Jones over in the street. Well, I don't have to tell you, my love. You know my most secret thoughts. All I can promise is that they won't get us. After all, they don't exist for us. None of them do, not even your wife. I'll try to be brave, and I'll try to reach you. And if I do, we'll be together forever. George, are you there?
Yes, Vera, I'm here.
Ah.
Saturday, the 2nd of October, the day of Chris and Tracy's wedding. Found number 1, Waggoners Walk, Waggoners Walk, Waggoners Walk, Waggoners Walk.
George, are you there? George, are you there? George, are you there?
What happened?
Well, had a phone call from Mrs. Phillips at about 10 o'clock. I went round there immediately. Miss Whiting was lying on the bed, all her clothes on, boots on even, hugging an old bolster. Her eyes were open, but she was somewhere else. It would seem that she had been confusing Mr. Phillips with this George Underdown character.
What, from the soap opera?
Yes. She must have been living in some sort of fantasy world long before we spotted it.
But what sparked off the crisis?
Well, Mr. Phillips happened to be passing by Miss Whiting's house on the night of the famous party. He heard music and looked in. There were all the signs of the party, drink, food, but no guests. Just Miss Whiting in the middle of the floor, dancing all by herself. So he rang the doorbell, and she came to the door and seemed very upset, as if in another world.
Fantasy meeting reality. Yes, that could be enough to do it.
What's going to happen to her?
We'll keep her under observation.
No, but I mean afterwards.
Oh.
Will she be able to look after herself?
Well, she was able to look after herself before. It was hardly her fault, but we just didn't see that she was so desperately lonely.
We're always too bloody busy. Doctor, do you think she'll recover?
No idea. A spell in a nursing home could be enough to put her back on the right tracks. After all, it's only really company she lacks. But, of course, by now, she might find the company of her imaginary friends preferable to real people. After all, she's got total control over them.
Dear George, it's been some months since I wrote to you, or indeed since I had any contact with you at all. And now it is autumn again. I've been staying in the country. This is going to be a painful letter to write, so I won't beat about the bush. I think we should see less of each other. In fact, I think we had better not meet again. I'll be 76 next birthday. George, I know how this will hurt you. I have no wish to hurt you, but there is no other course open to me. Since I have been away, I have deliberately decided not to contact you.
Morning, nurse.
Dr. Black, who have you come to see today?
Well, Miss Whiting first. How is she?
A bit shaky on her feet, but I don't think it'll take her long now.
Have you been able to move her yet?
Yes, Doctor, into the 4-bed ward. And she's always in the day room or on the veranda.
Yeah.
Well, we've had some lovely weather.
Yes. It's even been good in town.
She's out there now.
Thank you. Right. Good morning, Miss Whiting.
Hello, Dr. Black. I wasn't expecting you so early.
Dr. Flaxman's taking morning surgery today, so I thought I'd take advantage of the time and pop over.
Well, I'm pleased to see you. Afraid I can't offer you anything, though. I expect they might bring you some tea.
No, it's all right. How are you?
I'm fine.
Out here on your own?
Just for a breather. Actually, I'm expecting someone.
A visitor?
No, another patient. He arrived a couple of weeks ago, actually, but he's only just started to, mix in with the rest of us.
And you're showing him the ropes?
Well, I do know how he feels. He said he'd like to learn to play chess. It's years since I had a game. I don't even know if I remember how to.
Same here.
No one to play with for so long. I belonged to a club once, before I retired. Are you sure about the tea?
Yes, thank you. What's this? Been writing letters?
Just doodling. I've been a bit of a foolish old woman, really. Will they let me go home soon?
Of course.
Only I've been here months.
These things do take time. I'm glad you've made so many friends here.
I haven't really. But I meet some of their visitors, grandsons and daughters. Of course, some of the older ones here are quite gaga. I wouldn't like to end up like that.
I don't think you will.
No, nor do I. Now.
In Miss Whiting's Visitors by Anton Gill, Margot Boyd played Miss Whiting, Mrs. Walker, Alex Marshall, Steve Jones, James Bryce, Dr. Black, Nigel Graham, Mrs. Phillips, Hilda Schroeder, Mr. Phillips, Timothy Bateson, Mike Nash, Edward Cast, George Underdown, Alan Dudley, Claire Nash, Ellen McINTOSH, Liz Tyson, Monica Gray, Arthur Tyson, Peter Tuddenham, Nurse, Moir Leslie. The play was directed by Peter King.